If I could go back and tell my younger self anything before I got started on this hair journey, these are the 10 things I wish I would have known. After being in this hair industry for over 20 years, these are the lessons I learned the hard way. Lessons about my calling, my worth, and also understanding that when a client leaves my chair feeling beautiful and confident and seen, that this is not just about a good service, it's really about transformation. And this is the kind of impact that really changes lives. And today I'm sharing them with you so you don't have to make the same mistakes that I did. All right, so let me just start with number one. Document everything, because we're visual artists as hairstylists. People are going to see our work, but we also need to see our journey and also be able to appreciate our journey. And other people will appreciate our journey too. I wish I would have documented my journey so much more than what I did. I have bits and pieces of footage when I was young braiding hair in my laundry room, and I mean literally like 30 years ago. And I'm like, I wish I would have seen so much more of all the things, like the first time I, made money for a client, and over the years of me opening my salon, and all of the great milestones. Not only just documenting in pictures, but also documenting from an emotional and mental standpoint. I really feel like journaling is so important for the dreams that we have for our lives. And a lot of stylists like you want to go further in your journey, right? But if you document where you're at and the dreams that you have, those things are going to help you go so much further. And I wish I would have documented almost every day if I could have, because I really can now look back and appreciate the journey. The other part of that is this, that a lot of stylists, they find themselves not documenting like their hairstyles because they don't feel like their hairstyles are good enough. And so they don't want to take pictures of them, nor do they want to post them. But this is something that actually does not afford you the growth that you actually want to get to, because the reality is, even if you don't feel like your hairstyles are as good as you would like them to be, there is somebody in your community, somebody that lives in your city that actually needs your services. And so when we decide not to document our journey and our hairstyles and post our work, like really, we're not allowing ourselves to grow. So I would just say, make sure that you're not putting yourself in the position to where you could be growing, but you're not, because you're unwilling to kind of, put yourself out there and document the things that you're doing, because you never know how all of that footage and all of those pictures and even all of those journals could contribute to your journey when you get to the place that you want to be. Number two, and I know this is a very hard one at times because we can get very impatient and frustrated, but it really has to do with trusting the journey. I can't stress that enough. And I'm telling you why is because, as I mentioned before, I started in the 90s in the laundry room of my childhood home. And to think that it took me 10 years almost to open my salon, and had I given up, or had I got impatient, and had I decided to shift into something else because it wasn't yielding the fruits that I thought it was supposed to yield at the time, like I would never get here. And I think sometimes we don't recognize, but we're picking up tools along the way. Every step that we take, that we are walking and we're being faithful over the gift that we have as hairstylists, we don't understand all the lessons that we're learning, all the wisdom that we're gaining, and the preparation that brings us further into our promise, right? And so it took me probably 15 years before my hairstyle was on the cover of Essence magazine. Now, how I got there, I don't know. I think I just put my head down and I did the work. Like, I mastered my craft. I was patient with my process, not all the time, but I wish I would have been more patient, not realizing that as long as you continue to put the work in, it has to yield, right? It has to bring forth a fruit, because you are putting your heart and your soul into it. And it's literally like the gift that you've been given. And I believe that when you sow, you will reap in due time. So I would just recommend trusting your process, trusting the journey, because at the end of the day, God clearly, He has it all worked out. All right, y'all. Number 3, please learn to recognize and be aware of your worth. I wish I would have understood that very early in my journey. I went through seasons, years of undercharging myself, underpricing my services, all because I really didn't know how valuable the gift I had and just the value of my time and my skill set. I remember when I first started braiding and I started charging, because at first I was doing it for free, right? Because it was just really something I enjoyed, and I was being creative, and I'm, 12, 13 years old, and I'm just trying things out. And then it got to a point where now I'm being requested. And so I started charging. If I tell y'all how much I charge, you probably gonna think I'm crazy, but this is like $95, right? I'm charging like $5, $10, right? And there was a point in time where my father was like, he seen my skill set and he was like, what? You're only charging, like, and I was like, yeah, daddy, like I just needed a couple dollars to get some meals, if I'm honest, right? And he was like, what you have is valuable and you need to charge more for what your services are. And at that time, it really challenged challenged me to hear that from my father, because he's seen from a different perspective the gift that I had, and he understood that there are people who value it and they'll take advantage of it if I allow it, right? And so sometimes there are a lot of clients that will, if you only want to charge $20, you only want to charge $50, then that's what they're going to give you. But there are people who are willing to pay you twice as much because they see what you have. And so it challenged me to even consider raising my prices. Why? Because I literally thought that I was going to lose my clientele. I thought my father was trying to kill my business. I was just like, if I go up, do you know, like, they can't afford it, or they're going to go somewhere else. And he was like, trust me, when you go up on your prices, things are going to shift, and they're going to shift for the better. And I'm telling you, when I did decide to make that choice, it was the best decision I ever did. Now I know I'm talking about very early in my journey, but along the way, I had to make decisions to go up on my prices as I increased in my value and my understanding of my worth. And so I would highly recommend that you begin to, one, invest in yourself, because the more you invest in yourself, it actually is going to bring you more value. You know, the more that you can pour out, I think people, not even think, I know people will see it as valuable, and that will change the game for you. So know your worth. So the other part of it is, and I forgot to say this, and I just want to make sure that I say this, is that when you don't know your worth and you find yourself in cycles of undercharging yourself, underpricing your services, overworking yourself for little money, what happens is you start to get in a place where the very thing that you loved, the creativity, the ability to help people feel beautiful, you now are starting to loathe. Like, you're frustrated with it, you get burnt out with it, and it has nothing to do with you falling out of love with the craft, but it's the way in which you're doing things and the way in which you see yourself and value yourself. And so when you begin to see yourself differently, this is going to change the game for you, because you're going to fall back in love with the very thing that you've been blessed with, right? And you can be a better blessing to others, because when we're working out of frustration and we're working out of burnout, clients can feel that too, right? And so not only is we're not making enough money, but then we're not showing up with an attitude of gratitude and love, actually is a downward spiral to our business. And so I just want to make sure I said that really quickly. All right. So number 4 is, I want you to be able to believe bigger. I want you to be able to see the bigger picture. Now, what do I mean by that? I think that sometimes we don't understand that there are so many opportunities that can be opened up once we are faithful over one thing, right? And so what I mean by that is, if you commit to being the best hairstylist you can be, the best. I mean, you're investing in yourself, you're practicing, you're putting yourself out there. There are doors that can open. There are opportunities that will come. There are so many other avenues that you can go. And I think when I started doing hair, I fell in love with doing hair, but there was a part of me that kind of was just like, well, I don't know what all I could do with this, especially very early on, because I just saw it as, you know, almost like a ceiling. Like, okay, I could be a hairstylist and then what, right? But there is education, there are products, there are so many different opportunities for you that you could expand into that you have no clue of. And I think that when you're faithful over that one thing, I believe, because I'm a believer, that God will give you an opportunity to express other gifts that you don't even know you have. Now, let me just give you a quick example of this. So I was faithful over doing hair. Started braiding when I was 15, making money for sure. And from there, I was faithful over that. 25 years old, I became a legit business owner. Now, I was self-employed for them first 10 years, just, you know, side hustling it. And then after that benchmark of me opening my salon, now I become a business owner, right? Now I'm actually employing people. I'm in leadership now. This is a whole nother ball game, right? And then from there, being faithful over that, my hairstyle blows up. And the next thing you know, I'm in education because everybody's asking me, how did you do this hairstyle? So then I get thrusted into education. I never knew I was a teacher, right? I honestly, you know, I thought I was good at doing hair, but I didn't know that gift was there. And then from teaching, it positioned me to start speaking. All of these gifts were there, but it took for me to unlock the first gift. And I think that sometimes we have to just be open to understand that it could be much greater than we ever imagined, but we still have to be faithful over that first thing and trust that the possibilities are endless. By the way, if you're a braider, loctician, or natural hairstylist that is struggling with the business side, my Rare Blueprint is designed to help you build the systems, create the boundaries, and also have the CEO mindset you need to run a profitable business that protects your peace. Just click the first link in the description if you want to check it out after you watch this video. So number 5 is shift from a hustle mentality to a purpose-driven mentality. And I really want to stress this because I didn't realize how valuable my gift was, and that it literally was an indication to the direction I was supposed to go. What do I mean by that? For years, I thought that it was really just supposed to be like a side hustle hustle. And so I treated it as such because I believe that society has programmed a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people, that being a hairstylist is not a respectable career. Like, people see other careers as more valuable, a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, all these things, and all those are great. However, if God has blessed you with the talent and the ability and the heart to serve people who want to get their hair done, like, that is a whole nother profession that we undervalue, I believe, as a society. And we literally are considered the healers. And so what it took for me, I think I was about 10 years in, maybe about 8 years in, until I really realized, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. Like, this is what I was designed to do, right? And so it was right around that time that I changed the law that I realized, like, oh, God didn't just put me here to have this gift and this talent and this ability to just almost dismiss it and discard it, and for me to not realize that this is an indication of the direction I'm supposed to go, but I'm supposed to actually hone this craft and recognize the impact that I'm supposed to make behind the chair. And so over time, what I realized is that doing hair for me is a decoy. Yes, I get to express my creativity. Yes, I get to have great conversations and connect with clients, but in those conversations and even in that connecting, there is transformation that has taken place. Transformation in the mind, transformation in the heart that brings about a refreshing for people. And I didn't realize that not only was I gifted in my hands, but I was also gifted in my ability to communicate and to help people heal as I went on my own healing journey. And so there have been several times that clients have come back to me, and yes, while they love their hair, there was something that I deposited, but there was some level of exchange that shifted the way that they thought about themselves. And so for me, I had to learn how to go from just thinking that this was just a hustle to understanding that I was designed and destined for this path. And there are many of you right now that are almost struggling with it. Maybe you're kind of just shoveling it to the side and even giving yourself some excuses, not realizing like this is what you were called to do, right? And so I just want you to recognize that if that is the case, then take it literally as this is what you were purposed to do and put that same level of effort into it, right? Because it's almost like to a degree we're being disobedient when we're not honoring the reason why we are here and the path that we're supposed to take to affect the people that are assigned to us. I don't want to preach, so I ain't gonna go too much deeper into that, but I just want you to really carry that with some weight. All right, so this number 6 really kind of like intertwines with 5. So we talked about going from hustle to purpose, but this next one, number 6, is about embracing your gift. And the reason why I had to distinguish it as another point is because, as I mentioned before, I was trying to go a different route. I went to Hampton University for a point in time. I actually became a nurse and I started working as a nurse. And in my journey of working as a nurse, I was still braiding out of my apartment, and I still had like this dream, and I still had this passion and this desire for things to kind of be different. Even when I was at nursing school, I was Googling like hair equipment, like furniture, and, sketching what my salon would look like. I was, still doing all these things. And what I had to realize is that I was kind of being diverted off my path to an extent. And I realized that I wasn't in alignment. And so I had to, at one point, I was passing meds at a lockdown facility to youth. It was a detention center. And one day I just felt like I was out of alignment. And it was in that moment that I realized like I need to bet on myself, because I was still going home, braiding hair after my shifts. And I was like, I don't want to be here. So I ended up quitting my job. And that's when I actually like fully embraced it. Like, I'm about to just ride this until the wheels fall off. And so I want you to, early in your journey, even if it's right now, embrace the gift and ride that thing until the wheels fall off. All right, number 7, I mentioned this a while back, but I need you to understand the value of investing in yourself. In this industry, the opportunities that came up that helped me get to the next level. How do you think a stylist from Glendale, Arizona, you probably never even heard of Glendale, Arizona, got to a place where my hairstyle is literally all over the world? It literally came from the fact that I invested in myself. I went to conferences, I went to hair shows, I was connecting with other stylists locally and nationally and even internationally. And all of those things helped me get to the place where I'm at right now. And so if you understand early, it's the stylists that invest in themselves, they get to the next level, changes the game. There's information that if you have, you can leverage and you can step into new rooms and step into new relationships and step into new opportunities. But it does not come from you staying in your house, barely promoting yourself and, not even leaving your city, or not even taking a course or not even getting a mentor. Like, all of those things I wish I would have understood way earlier in my career, because it is about the networking. It is about the knowledge that you possess. So that's number 7. All right, so I did it again, y'all. I actually merged number 7 7, right, with number 8. And so I talked about investing in yourself, but then I also kind of merged that with number 8. And so I really want to kind of hone in on number 8. And I just want to give you a specific example of how this really changed my trajectory in my career. And so as I went and invested in myself and I started building relationships, I actually but I was connected with Tondo Kafele out of New York. And from us building just a genuine friendship in the industry, he referenced, hey, you should work with this particular photographer. Now, mind you, had I never had a conversation with him or a relationship with him, I would have never known about this particular photographer. So I ended up working with this photographer, flew him from New York City to Phoenix, Arizona. Now, mind you, there are photographers everywhere, right? My brother's a photographer. There are photographers everywhere, but because he came highly recommended from my network, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna bet on myself. I'm gonna invest in myself, and I'm gonna continue to, put things in place from the relationships that have been afforded to me. Sometimes God drops things in your spirit because it's an indication of the direction you're supposed to go. And so when I heard that, I'm like, okay, bet, I'm gonna work with this photographer. Flew him out here. This was my first photo shoot I ever did. And in my mind, I said, yeah, I'm gonna do this photo shoot in order to get into magazine. I thought I was gonna get into Hype Hair at the time. I think it was Hype Hair or Sophisticates. And next thing you know, after that photo shoot, that photographer called me and told me that Essence picked up my work. And I'm like, what? How in the world? But that was all because of networking, meeting people, having the right conversation. So I want you to recognize networking is really going to help you get to the next level. All right, number 9, I'm going to make this pretty short. Silence the noise. What do I mean by that? There are times when your dreams can be stifled. Your dreams can be overshadowed by someone else's fear that they may be projecting on you. And so sometimes you have to recognize like who is empowering you and who is disempowering you. And you have to shut off the lines of communication to a degree, right? They may be loved ones. They may be people who genuinely see the best for you, but at the same time, their idea of what you should be doing may be different than theirs, right? And so it is important that you silence the noises and also recognize like who are the people who are pouring and watering your seed, right? Because if you are truly called to be this hairstylist, there are people that God will bring along your way that will continue to encourage you, continue to speak life into you. And so those are the conversations and the voices that you need to continue to, allow yourself to ingest, because sometimes when we allow that negativity to fester and to ruminate in our minds, it actually keeps us from moving boldly so we can become that stylist that we've always desired to be. And number 10, last but certainly not least, I would have believed sooner. I would have believed so much that I would have behaved so boldly. If you notice behind me, it says believe, behave, behold. I would have experienced things maybe in a different way if I would have truly just been solid in my belief that all things work for the good, right? All things are going to work in my favor. And so when you begin to water your seed and to fully believe, it's going to change everything for you. And if I could have done anything different, I would have pushed the gas so much more than I actually did. I think that I certainly had kind of seeds of doubt. And then I was just wavering. I wasn't really sure of, should I do this or should I do that? Should I be a nurse or should I be a hairstylist? And because entrepreneurship it's a risky thing, but just believe that even though it may be risky, if you have the gift and if you have the passion, you have the potential to be great. Trust and believe that. These 10 lessons took me 20 plus years to learn, but you don't have to wait as long as I did. Document your journey, trust the process, know your worth, see the bigger picture, shift from hustle to purpose, embrace your gift, invest in yourself, network intentionally, silence the noise, and believe sooner. If I had understood these things from the beginning, I would have avoided so much unnecessary struggle. But the beautiful thing is you're hearing them now. Now, if you're ready to stop learning lessons the hard way and you want a framework, a blueprint that will help you build a thriving business with clarity and confidence, that's what we do in the Rare Blueprint. We work with natural hairstylists to help you to charge what you're worth, attract the aligned clientele, and build systems that help you protect your peace. Click the first link in my description below to learn more, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.